Hey guys, it's Lori the Cheeky Crafter. Today I'm going to be working on the June 2021 card kit from the Stamps of Life. I'm excited about this kit as it is cookie themed. So we've got 10 white envelopes and 2 spools of ribbon, yellow and brown plaids. And then our cardstock colors are Sunshine, Bubblegum, Guava, Ginger Snap, Kiwi, Candy, Midnight, Chocolate, and 4 sheets of powdered sugar. So you get 12 sheets of cardstock total. Then you've got your stamp set, the dies that match it, the You Got This words, some heart stickers, some jeweled dots, flower petals, and then the bonus for being in the club, it's a word die hooray. Then you've got your 6x6 paper pad, 2 sheets of each design, double-sided, and you'll see that there are 2 sheets of cutouts. You will need to have the cookies to stamp and more cookies to stamp dies in order to cut those out. All right, let's make some cards. So for card design number 1, I've got several pieces here that I've pre-cut. So this, the green cardstock or the kiwi cardstock is cut to 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. And then I'm laying a piece on top of the cookie pattern paper, which I cut using Queen & Company's Foundation 3 die. It's got a stitch border, you can't really tell. And then this small rectangle that I'm putting here that I've already stamped with the image or with the sentiment is going on a scallop rectangle as well. Both of those are from the Queen & Company Foundation Dies number 2 set. And I'm going to put this in the top left corner, and that's because I'm going to put that mixer in the bottom right corner. But first I'm going to glue the mixer to a piece of craft foam. Now I cut the craft foam using the outline die for the mixer. It's pretty handy, that way it's an exact match and I won't have to fussy cut it or anything like that. So I love using those outline dies to cut the craft foam. I'll go ahead and get some glue here. I'm using Art Glitter Glue. I love this glue. It works the best for me. And I'm going to attach that in the bottom right corner. This is really just a very simple card. I usually start out fairly simple. I'm going to go ahead and run my AGT tape gun around the back and then stick that to the card base. And then I thought it needs one little heart up in that corner. So I thought that gives it a nice little pop of color as well. And there's my first card. For card design number 2, I went with a Cookie Monster theme. So what I've got here is a sheet of the brown heart pattern paper cut to 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm attaching it to the Ginger Snap piece, which is cut at 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. Then I used just my printer and I printed out a sentiment that says the Circle of Life, and then I just used a circle to cut it, or a circle die to cut it out. And now I've got Elmo. Now, make sure that if you use a licensed character that you have the license to use it, because those are, of course, copyrighted. I purchased this image, so I have the right to use it. So I've also cut these cookies out of the paper that came in the paper pad using my dies from the Cookies to Stamp. And I'm placing those around that circle. And I just kind of felt like Cookie Monster might be thinking that cookies are, in fact, the circle of life. And so I thought that was kind of cute, maybe a little cheeky to put on there. So I'm just attaching those. I'm going to get Elmo. I'm going to go ahead and give him some dimension by using these foam squares from Scrapbook Adhesives. And you see I've got them all out there. I didn't have any of the larger ones, so I had to use a bunch of the little ones. And clearly I'm having a little trouble getting them off. I'm going to go ahead and attach it to the card base before I stick that on, just because it's easier to run the ATG gun around the outside without the dimension on there. And then once I've got that card onto the card base, I will stick Elmo on, and there you have it, card design number 2. For card design number 3, I took a piece of Sunshine paper cut to 5 3/8 by 4 1/8 to be the mat. And then I took 2 sheets of the pattern paper that had the multicolored stripes with the solid blue background. I put 2 sheets. I cut those down to 5 1/4 by 4, and then I sliced them diagonally so that I could match them up. And so that's what I'm doing now, is attaching these two together. And you can see, of course, I put them together when I cut. So I cut 2 sheets at once on the angle using my paper trimmer, which I have a guillotine style, so that's easy to do. And that way they match up perfectly. So now that I've got those on there, I'm thinking, do I want the blue on the bottom or the stripes on the bottom? And ultimately, I decide to put the stripes on the bottom, and that's so that the mixer will pop even more. So before I do that, I'm going to put a piece of yellow ribbon at a diagonal, and you'll see me cutting it extra longer there. I was trying to avoid the pinholes because they made quite a large hole. So I'm just attaching some double-sided tape here, and that way it will stick on the front, and when I wrap it around to the back, it'll already have sticky on it. So I'll go ahead and pull the release paper off of that, line it up on this diagonal, and then flip it over to press down each of the ends. And then I'll be able to take my ATG gun and run around the edges so that I can attach it to the card base. And all of my cards, of course, are the A2 size, which is 5 1/2 by 4 1/4. Again, there I was deciding which way did I want it to go, and ultimately I want the stripes on the bottom because I'm going to put that mixer down there on the bottom, and I felt like it popped a little better against the stripes. And I'm going to put my sentiment and a bow in the top left corner. So my sentiment says, "Life is what you bake it," and I cut that out using a die from Queen & Company's foundation dies, set number, which number was that? I'm not sure. It's 1 through 10. They have 10 different die sets. This one with the angle die is in set number 5. All right, and so now I'm going to make a bow using my We Are Memory Keepers bow loom. And clearly I cut this piece way too short, so I'm going to have to start over and either make the bow smaller or get a different sheet. So I just decided to make the bow smaller so I could save the ribbon. So instead of doing 2 spaces there and making a wider looped bow, I'm just going to have a smaller loop bow. Really no big deal. And the way that this works is you hold it on one, you wrap it around, then you feed it through, then you pull it up, tie it together, slide it off, and you've got your bow. It's really quite easy, although I'm making it look difficult because I'm not taking my time here. I'm just kind of trying to rush through it. And I'm also doing it a little off camera. Sorry about that. I didn't realize it wasn't capturing it very well. So here I'm just adjusting it, trying to make it look nice. I'll trim off the ends so I get a little bit of an angle to it and get rid of any frayed edges. And then I'll be able to adhere it to the card. And I'm just going to use some glue dots for that. I'm going to end up putting 3 on it, 1 in the middle, and then 1 on each of the side strings, if you will. I'm not sure what you would call those parts, or the side ribbons. And then I'm just going to put it up here in the left-hand corner atop of the sentiment. And there you have it. This will be card design number 4. Realized I had not adhered the sentiment, so let me do that. And there we go, card design number 4. That's actually card design number 3, sorry. Okay, so for the real card design number 4, I've got, again, a sheet of the bubblegum cardstock to be the card mat, and that's cut to 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. Then I've got the smaller cookie pattern paper cut to 5 1/4 by 4. And then I used the Queen & Company foundation die number 2 to cut out this banner. And then you saw I put a sheet of white. I cut it out of white as well, scrap white, to put in the back just to keep it from being dippy. And I'm going to adhere this in the middle. I've already stamped it with "We're a Batch Made in Heaven." I'm going to go ahead and adhere this to the card base. And then that's when I realized, oh shoot, I meant to put a bow on the top. But I'm going to go ahead and get my cookies glued down to the craft foam that I've cut so they'll have some dimension on them. And in my head, I'm thinking, oh, how am I going to do this bow? And I thought, well, maybe I can try to pull off the banner, but of course I used glue on it and it's going to already be set. So I'm not going to be able to do that. I try with my thing to lift it and it's crumpling the paper. So it's like, well, I can't do that, but now I have to put a bow on there because I've crumpled the paper and it's not flat. So I thought, well, I'll just cut the bow strip across and then make a bow on the bow loom again. So that's what I'm doing here is I'm measuring this out so that I can cut the bow, or excuse me, cut it straight across. I'll adhere it down, and then I'll make a bow using the bow loom to go on top of that. And I'm just going to put this down with some glue dots because this particular ribbon is very, very thin and sheer, and I was afraid that actual glue would show through or be really messy. So I'm just putting one glue dot on each end right at the edge and hoping that that's going to be enough to hold it. Then, like I said, I'm taking some to make a bow. And this time I am going to go with the double loop, although I don't know if you can tell, but I hit double on one and only one on the other side, so it was the wrong size, so I got to do it again. The bow loom was not my friend today. Normally I whip these out in nothing flats. Maybe it's the shyness of being on camera talking. I don't know. Anyway, here we go. Finally got the bow. Again, doing it off camera, I didn't realize that that wasn't being captured in it, so I apologize. Still fairly new to this video making, so please forgive me. I'll attach it again with the glue dots, one in the middle, one on each end. And once I get that there, I can go back and adhere the cookies, the plate of cookies, and the tray of cookies. I thought those kind of went along with We're a Batch Made in Heaven. So I thought that was super cute sentiment to put with that. This might make like a nice anniversary card. Maybe it's the anniversary of your first date or something along those lines. Then I'm using one of those glue hearts, or excuse me, heart stickers. And then I thought I need a couple more, but they're too big, so I'm going to use the stamp here. And I'm just going to stamp that with some Passionate Pink ink from Gina K. I don't have any Stamps of Life ink. Sorry. For those of you who do, obviously you would want to use, and that's card design number 4. For card design number 5, excuse me, I've got this pink paper with the white hearts. That's cut to 3 by 3. The candy mat size is 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. And then this piece of mixer paper is cut to 2 by 5 1/4, and the mat is 2 1/4 by 5 1/4. And that's going to run along the bottom of the guava card base, which is cut to 5 1/4 by 4. And so I'm going to place that about 1/8 of an inch or so off of the bottom. And then trim off that little bit of excess that I have there. And then I'm going to go ahead and put this 3 by 3, well, 3 1/4 by 3 1/4 square now in the top right corner, leaving about 1/8 of an inch as well of the guava showing. And then I'm going to go ahead and attach that to the card base. And again, A2 size card, 5 1/4 by, 5.5 by 4 1/4. Once I've got that on there, I'm going to go ahead and glue this mixer, or tape the mixer down in that pink square. And now I am a child of the 80s. So when I saw this, immediately it came to my mind, and I love Michael Jackson, Just Beat It. And so I cut the Just Beat It on just white cardstock. And I printed that out on my computer and then cut it out with the Stamps of Life stitch squares, matted it to the next size up square on that candy cardstock. Then I also love Devo, and I thought it would be appropriate to add it, just whip it good. And I cut these on some flags that I got from the Queen & Company Foundation Die set number 3. And so I've got this all together, and I realized that that's real thick cardstock, so I wanted to give the edge where that's going to hang off a little bit of extra dimension so it would lie flat. So I'm just adding 2 pieces of scrap cardstock onto that half so that when it goes off of the pink square, it's still flat against the card base. And once I get that on there straight, I will have card design number 5 complete. For my sixth cookie, I've gone with the Milk and Cookie Fold-It, and I'm super excited about this card. It's super cute. So I'm lining up the largest milk bottle on the edge so that it'll open on the left-hand side. Run that through my die cut, and you'll see here once I pull the tape off that I've got a milk bottle folded. So now I've got this sheet of chocolate paper that I'm going to cut another cookie and the chocolate chips out of. And the reason I'm cutting out another cookie, you can see I've already got one cut out there, is to put on the back side of it once the milk bottle's open. Otherwise, you're going to be able to see where I've cut out these chocolate chips for the top of the cookie. So you'll see how it all comes together here in just a minute. So right now I've got the two cookies cut out of chocolate. One has the chocolate chips cut out of it as well. And then I have the smaller cookie cut out of the ginger snap. So I'm going to put all that together, and I'm going to put the ginger snap on top of the one that has the chocolate chips cut out to cover that up on the front. So I'll run my glue in and around the chocolate chips to adhere to the ginger snap cookie part. And you'll see how it's going to look, and that's why I've got that second one there. So I'm going to go ahead and get all the chocolate chips turned right side up. It makes it much easier to adhere them when they're already ready to go. And then I'm just going to quickly work using my glue. And again, I'm just putting these down at random. There's no pattern because obviously when you're baking, there's no pattern to how the chocolate chips end up unless you particularly place them yourself. But when you've got them mixed in the batter, they just kind of go anywhere. Once they're all lined up, I'm going to let those dry. And I'm going to go ahead and put this top that I cut out for the bottle on, as well as adhere the letters for milk onto the milk shadow, which I cut out of that same blue so that the cap would match the milk label. And it's real easy to line these letters up because obviously that shadow die tells you exactly where to go. I do wipe off some of my excess glue. I was struggling with the L there. I couldn't get it to stay on the inside of my tweezers. But no big deal. Got it. Wipe off the excess glue, and I'm ready to move on to the letter K. And then once we get those done, I'm going to let that dry for just a second. I don't want to put it on yet until I've got the rest of the cookie set up so that I'll know where milk will fit. So I glue that smaller cutout to the front, and now I'm ready to put the cookie on. I want to make sure it still fits in an envelope, so I don't want to slide the cookie off too far to the right. So now that I've got it measured and I know how much cookie I can stick on and still fit in the envelope, I do that. Then I open it up, line up the other cookie, and you can see it's going to cover up these chocolate chip holes that I made. And there we go. So now I've got my cookie adhered, and I can adhere the word milk. Now I'm going to work on the sentiment. So I've already got it stamped and cut out of like a banner, and I'm going to attach it using this ribbon that is in the chocolate and ginger snap colors. So it's really cute. So I stamped my sentiment, "You're the milk to my cookies," and then I also used the same ink to run around the edges to give it like a sort of a rugged look. And so that's the Gina K charcoal brown ink that I used. Cut the ribbon off at an angle, and there it is, card number 6. For the 7th card design, I decided to use this triple slimline die that I got from the Stamps of Life. I haven't used it yet, so I was really excited to use it. So my slimline card base is going to be 3 3/4 by 8, and this panel is 2 1/2 by 8, or excuse me, 2 3/4 by 8. And so I'm going to glue this little strip of the Midnight cardstock on the back, just so that I have a color on the back, and so the white card base doesn't show through. So I'm going to stick that on there, trim off the edge, and then I can go ahead and adhere this to the card base. And I'm just going to stick this right in the middle of the card base. So I'm just lining it up on my mat so I can make sure I get it straight. And so this card, the idea for using the triple slimline came to me from one of the sentiments in the cookie set, which is the Hugs, Kisses, and Cookies. And so I'm going to adhere these pattern paper circle dots that I cut out with the next smaller size down from that triple circle slimline. Once I get all 3 of these down, then I've got 3 different pictures to put in each of the circles, and then I'll have the sentiment that goes across between the second and third one. And so I'm going to get the sentiment, which is on guava paper, and it's that hugs, kisses, and cookies. Again, I'm gluing it to some craft foam that I cut out using that same die cut, which is from Queen & Company foundation die set. I'm going to put that right there in the middle of the, well, middle from left to right, but between the second and third circles. Then I've got the hug emoji, and I'm going to put that at the top for the hugs. Then I've also got the kisses emoji, so I'll put that in the middle. And then I've got a tray of cookies, or a plate of cookies, excuse me, that I cut and colored, or stamped, cut, and colored. And then I decided I would put some sticker hearts around it. And this completes card number 7. For the 8th card design, I'm going to be using the You've Got This word die cut. You can see I've already cut it out of the yellow there, which that piece of sunshine cardstock, goodness, I can't talk, is 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. And then the You've Got This paper is 5 1/4 by 4. Then I'm going to cut some more of this yellow ribbon. I'm going to place it on each corner and also make a bow in the top left corner. So for where I'm going to wrap around the corners, I've just applied the double-sided tape. Once I pull off the release paper, I will adhere it to each corner, flip it over, and stick the sides down. I'm laying that one at the top at an angle because, like I said, I'm going to use it to make the bow, but I want to put this one on first. So once that's there, I'll go ahead and run the ATG around, adhere it to the card base, and then I can tie the little knot bow here. And this isn't a true bow, it's just kind of like a little knot. And I'll trim off the edges to remove any frayed and to make sure that it matches the card. Then I've got an oval here cut from the yellow heart paper, or the yellow paper with white hearts. That's using Queen & Company's foundation number 6. Then I'm going to adhere the You Got This. I cut the letters out of the yellow and I did the shadow in white. Then I'm going to adhere the 3 flowers and 3 of the leaf stems as well. And I'm just going to pull those up and glue each one of those down. Put just a few dots on the leaf. Make sure I stick it under there, under the flower. And then do the same. I've got 1 in the top left and 2 in the bottom right of the oval. I thought that gave it a nice balance with the bow being in the top left as well. And this will complete card number 8. Card design number 9 is super fast. This cutout here of the striped paper is from Queen & Company's foundation number 10. I'm adhering it to a piece of guava cardstock that was cut to 5 1/4 by 4. I'm going to stamp the sentiment on here using that Memento Tuxedo Black ink. My camera starts to die. And so I'm going to adhere that to the card base. Now that I've got it stamped, I've got this pink circle that was left over from the triple circle slimline cutouts. So I'm going to put that on there, trim it off on the corner, attach one of these sticker hearts, and then place 3 of the gems on here. And this, like I said, a simple card. This is card design number 9. For my 10th design, it's time to start using up some scraps. So I cut a piece of the Midnight cardstock to 5 3/8 by 4 1/8, and then I pulled out the scraps that I had and started fitting them in and around and trimmed as needed to fit onto the card. So here I just need to make a quick little snip to make it fit, and I'm going to place these all around, leaving about 1/8 of an inch border of the blue Midnight to show. I moved that off the mat so I could see that it was kind of hard against the gray mat to see the blue. This piece isn't quite long enough, but I have a plan to cover that up, so I'm not too worried. And again, these are just different pieces of scrap paper that I have from where I've cut it out for the other designs that I've done. So once I've got all these on here, I'm going to take one more of those pink circle cutouts from the Slimline card, stamped My Life is Short, Eat Cookies, placed one of the plate or tray of cookie cutouts, I'm going to cut some more yellow ribbon, and so that I can cover up the top part of that pink circle where there's nothing on it. And then I'm also going to put a bow there. So, or that, quick tie knot kind of bow. So I've got it here, lining it up, putting that ribbon down, wrapping it around, and then I'll be able to attach it to the card base. Tie my quick little knot. Trim the edges to remove any frayed and to make it look nicer. And then that completes card design number 10. So I have two bonus cards. The first one is another one using scraps, and I'm going to use this triangle background die from the Stamps of Life. So I've got a piece of the bubblegum paper that I'm going to cut and into the triangles, and it's still connected right here at the center, but I make a boo-boo, and in the process I end up disconnecting two of them, which you'll see me fix here in just a minute. So I'm going to glue this down onto a piece of the candy cardstock, and that piece of candy cardstock is cut to the 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. So the triangle cuts it down to 5 1/4 by 4. So once I've got them in place, I'm going to start gluing down each triangle here. And then this is just the base or the mat, if you will. I'm going to come back with pattern paper scraps that I've cut out to lay on top of these. So right now I'm just making sure to get it all lined up, and then I'll pull each one up and put some glue down. And I'm going to fast forward through this. You don't need to watch me glue each one. But once I've done that, then I can adhere it to the card base. And then, like I said, I'm going to take the individual triangle dies that are slightly smaller, and I'm going to use the ones that have stitching on them to cut my scraps. And so here's the scraps I cut, and then I'm just going to start gluing those down. And again, I'm going to move ahead and not make you watch all of that. So here is the completed card with the triangles pressed down. Now I'm going to work on the sentiment. So again, I just took another one of those triple circle slimline, and I'm going to run around the edges with Passionate Pink from Gina K, and I've already stamped on there, cookies make everything better. So I'm going to put that on there, and there you go, bonus card. For my final card, I'm going to make a slimline size 8 3/4 by 3 3/4 using the Stamps of Life Wedding Ring Slimline die, which cuts it down to about 8 1/2 by 3 1/2. And I just had an old piece of black paper with some white polka dots. I thought that would make a nice background here. And actually, the image I'm going to use is not from the Stamps of Life, so this is the only thing Stamps of Life is this slimline wedding ring. Because I've got another Cookie Monster here, and I'm going to cut him out. Or excuse me, I've cut him out. I'm going to glue him down and then use his catchphrase, "Me just here for cookies," that I cut out using Queen & Company's Slimline die number 4. Edged it in Gina K Blue Raspberry, and this makes a solid dozen cookie cards. Once again, here's a recap of the dozen cards that I made using the Stamps of Life June 2021 kit, which is actually called You've Got This, but is a strong cookie theme. And of course, I used additional dies and stamps from the Stamps of Life line, along with a few others from Queen & Company. But here you can see all 12 cards, so that's a dozen cookie cards made just for you, or really just for me. I hope you enjoyed it. Please check out my website at thecheekycrafter.com if you're interested in seeing any more of my creations. Thank you.